The mansion was claimed, the estate handed over, yet I stood there in the shadows with an old truck that looked like it had seen better days. Rusted doors, a dying engine, nothing glamorous. But deep down, I knew somehow I'd still won. The crackling fireplace behind me offered no warmth, only smoke and memories. The wood-paneled study reeked of cedar and varnish, nostalgic scents that used to remind me of Christmas mornings, of childhood safe and sound. Now it reeked of finality. Camille lounged elegantly in the velvet armchair, a thin smile on her lips like a dagger she was just waiting to use. Ethan Harris leaned back nonchalantly, one hand in his designer blazer pocket, as if he were here to sign a deal, not face a death sentence. I hadn't even taken off my jacket. I'd come straight from Philadelphia, in the middle of what felt like a war zone, actually. 3 weeks ago, I'd been scrubbing blood off my boots in New Jersey when the message came. No greeting, no warm words, just, "Come home, family matter, urgent." No context, just my mother's cold signature wrapped in 12 words. Now I was here, staring at a mahogany desk strewn with legal papers, as the family lawyer sweat under the harsh fluorescent buzz. Robert Sinclair cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses like it was a reflex. As stated in the last legally binding will, dated July this year. I caught the subtle shift in his breath when he said Camille's name. I knew what was coming before the words left his mouth. The estate, including the lakefront property in Maine and this mansion here in Vermont, shall go to Margaret Carter. She exhaled, slow, deliberate, like she was savoring victory, knowing she'd always been destined for this moment. Tyranny in his voice, slender now, continued. The entire portfolio, the long-term investments in Walsh Holdings, my stomach clenched, shall be transferred to her. Ethan Harris smirked. I fought the urge to crush his designer sunglasses in my hand. Instead, I clenched my fists. To Douglas Walsh, Sinclair said, the family boat, all marine investments including the Newport mooring rights. William Harris nodded sharply, hands tight in his lap, eyes nowhere near mine. The room grew colder, the air thick with unspoken truths. Was this the end, or just the beginning? The barn's shadows swallowed me as I stepped inside, the air thick with dust and secrets. The steel-gray sky spilled through cracks in the oak, flickering like dying light. The scent of old wood, rain, and faded memories hit hard, like breathing in something long buried but never gone. My eyes fixed on that battered tarp in the corner, the one hiding the unknown. Heart pounding, I approached slowly. My fingers felt the rough texture as I pulled it back. There it was, an old family photo album, dust-furred pages ready to reveal what had been hidden for too long. The first photo, my William Harris, cozy and genuine, smiling with Camille. Them, the boy and the girl who shaped my world, together, with a warmth I never knew. But the shock, the twist. It hit like a cold wave. Who really was Camille? Not just the cunning rival, but someone connected deeper than I'd guessed. Those smiles, their arms around each other, held something dark beneath. Secrets that could shatter everything I believed about loyalty, about family. I stood frozen, heart racing, understanding now that the rivalry was rooted far beyond inheritance. It was about blood, love, betrayal, woven tighter than I ever dared imagine. The barn's silence pressed inward, the past clawing its way to the surface. Secrets lurking in old photographs, waiting to flip my world upside down. And I knew this was only the beginning. Maybe it was the opening move. Most people inherit paintings or bonds. I inherited a puzzle and a code my grandfather never taught anyone else. The USB drive sat beside my laptop like a sleeping serpent, silent and coiled with secrets. I hadn't touched it until after sunset, not at the estate, not while Margaret and the others were still milling around like vultures in pearls and cufflinks. I needed silence, distance, and the kind of clarity that only comes when your back's against the wall. My rental cabin was less than 5 miles from the estate, tucked beneath a ridge of pine trees that whispered in the dark like old ghosts. The furniture was minimal. One wooden chair, a twin bed, a lamp that flickered when the wind pushed too hard. My coat hung from a nail by the door, still strapped under my arm. Muscle memory, not paranoia, or maybe both. I inserted the drive, bracing myself. The LED blinked red once, then green. 3 files appeared: Trust V1 PDF, Cypress Holdings DLSX, CAM, Meeting 22, MP3. I stared at the file names, pulse tightening. It wasn't just a memento. It was a breadcrumb trail left for someone who knew where to look and how. I opened the first PDF. It was gibberish at first glance. Characters, numbers, symbols, but not to me, not to us. Grandpa and I had a game when I was little. Cipher scavenger hunts, he called them. He'd write out clues and riddles, hiding candy or messages all over the house and garden. Each clue had a cipher, and every cipher followed his system. It was our thing, our language. I opened a blank notepad file and began decoding. 2 hours later, my neck stiff and my eyes dry, I had outlines of bank transfers. Multiple entities across jurisdictions with account holder initials that didn't match any of our names. And then one did. C.W. Margaret Carter. Not subtle. The door creaked. I closed the laptop in one motion and reached beneath the table, fingers grazing metal. A chill ran down my spine. Was it just the wind, or was someone watching? The faint scent of rain drifted through the window, mingling with the musty air. I could hear the rustle of leaves outside, each sound amplifying the tension in the room. Suddenly, the shadows deepened, and I glimpsed a figure standing behind me. William's silhouette, not as distant but watching from the shadows. The true inheritance wasn't the estate, but the web of betrayal we had all unwittingly woven. My heart raced. What had I stumbled into? The stakes were higher than I ever imagined. In that moment, I realized the fight wasn't just about money or property. It was about loyalty, love, and the dark secrets that could unravel everything. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I had to uncover the truth, not just for myself, but for the family I thought I knew. Would I be able to navigate this treacherous path, or would I become another casualty in this family war? The answers lay hidden, waiting for me to find them, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The cold wind whispers through the cracked window, carrying secrets darker than the night outside. A faint click echoes, perhaps a door softly closing or steps in the shadowed hall. Ethan Harris's breath catches, chest tightening with something unspoken, something heavy. Outside, rain begins to tap gently, mingling with the scent of damp leaves, as if nature itself is urging him to listen. Then a message flickers on his phone, chilling in its simplicity. A voice, familiar yet entirely fractured. Whose secret will finally crack tonight, and what truth, buried deep, is waiting just beyond the silence? Every moment feels suspended, loaded with unspoken questions. Betrayal, loyalty, family secrets tangled like roots beneath the surface. Ethan's resolve hardens. The family inheritance was supposed to be solid, untouched, legacy passed down, safely stored away. But now, everything feels compromised. Shadows dance with uncertainty, dark, silent, waiting. Just as he reaches out, the screen flickers again. An encrypted message. What revelation is lurking in those hidden files, and who is truly watching? The night's secrets threaten to unfold, rewriting everything Ethan thought he knew. Will he find the truth before it's too late, or will the darkness swallow him whole? The same chandelier, ancient and slow, dripped dust and shadows overhead. The polished mahogany stretched the length of the table like a silent witness, silent except for the faint, deliberate clink of crystal as Camille raised her glass. A toast to new beginnings, she purred softly, her voice light and carefree. But her eyes, those same steel sparks, locked onto me. "It's good to have you back, Evelyn," she said, her smile sharp, her tone almost affectionate. "Even if only temporarily." I didn't lift my glass. How can a toast mean anything when everything's already been split, already been fought over? Camille's laughter rang hollow and theatrical, echoing off the walls as if mocking the moment. Ethan Harris mimicked her, always quick to drift with the wind. He never led, he only followed. He leaned toward me, wine sloshing in his glass, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Heard you mostly stare at computers these days," he said, feigning curiosity. "What happened to the whole kick-down-the-door guns-blazing thing? Didn't age well." I stabbed a piece of asparagus with my fork, silent. Staying behind the screen is safer. Keeps me away from family dinners that feel more like courtrooms. Douglas's face was as cold and harsh as the stone statues outside a courtroom. His voice came flat, no hint of humor. Some of us stayed and earned our place. He didn't look at me, but I knew he meant it for me. An unspoken challenge. His eyes stayed on the plate, as if it held answers I'd never know. My mother sat 2 chairs down, quietly slicing her salmon into tiny, perfect bites. Not a word since starter. Her gaze was fixed on her plate, like it shielded her from everything else. Perhaps it held the secret to why we're all fighting. I glanced around. The wine bottles were French, 2001, wealthy enough for Ethan Harris but too refined for Camille's usual show. Camille's ring was a simple platinum band, no gaudy stones, no flash. Someone, probably her, told her to tone it down, or maybe she was playing a new part. The iPad beside her was turned down, always in reach, locked between courses like it was a treasure she feared might vanish. This isn't just a dinner. It's a battlefield cloaked in civility, every glance loaded. The walls whisper stories we're all pretending not to hear. Quiet, but deafening, waiting for the truth to surface. The room was thick with unspoken truths, shadows flickering under the flickering candlelight. As the silence stretched, the air grew heavy, like a storm brewing just beyond reach. Camille's confident smile wavered for a fleeting second. Her eyes darted, too quick, too cautious, like she was trying to hide something. A chill ran down my spine as I saw it. The cracks in her armor. She's always played the perfect lady, but tonight her veneer cracked, if only for a breath. The real architect of this family's chaos wasn't who everyone guessed. There was a weight hanging in the room, an invisible storm stirring, ready to explode. It's in the quiet gasp of betrayal, in the way we all brace for what's coming. You could feel it, every secret poised on the edge of revelation. And in that moment, the room was no longer just filled with voices. It was a battlefield, where truths fought to break free, shadows dancing to a tune only they knew. Ethan Harris lets the silence sit, then calmly states, "You've all done well for yourselves." Camille forces a practiced smile, her game face. "We just did what had to be done." Ethan Harris scoffs, clearly not one for subtlety. Yeah, not everyone sneaks off to spy camp or becomes a hacker. I let his comment hang. That's what they wanted. To bait me. To make me angry, hurt, lose control. But I stay still, holding on to my composure. Instead, I sip water, quietly observing. "And Grandpa," I say softly. "He seemed fine when I saw him last. Said he was updating the will." Camille's fork halts midair, like a plastic soldier frozen in place. Yes, he did. It was complicated. But he thought he was doing what was right. I set my glass down, softly knocking it against the table's edge. "No," I say. "He didn't change it." "You did." A silence so thick you could hear a leaf rustle outside, heavy with implications. Even the fireplace behind me seems to recoil. Ethan Harris's eyes flick to Camille. Douglas clenches his jaw. My mother, silent, her gaze flicks in my direction, then quickly away. I saw it. Fear, guilt, a flicker of something unspoken. Camille, to her credit, doesn't flinch. She tilts her head, eyes narrowing, amused but watchful. "Do you have proof of that?" she asks, voice smooth but with a dangerous edge. And just like that, the game shifts. The stakes go up. I lean back, silent, but inside, the storm's brewing. My words cross into forbidden territory. No longer suspicion. This is declaration. Camille signals she's ready, taking a slow sip of wine as if the question's just a dance move. I don't bite, but I notice Ethan Harris's leg trembling, Douglas turning full attention on me, Mother's fork frozen midair, tension crackling like lightning. The war has begun, I realize. I haven't chosen my weapon yet, but the battlefield is real. Outside, the rain pounds louder, masking my every move. Camille's receipts, proof hidden in plain sight, her deleted files, secrets enough to topple her. The storm rises outside, wild, unrelenting, and I stand in the center of it, waiting for what's next. Because in this family the truth isn't just a story, it's a weapon. Rain smashed against the window, a relentless drum echoing the tension inside. Thunder rolled over the hills, blending with the crack of distant lightning. I remember sneaking into the estate community center alone, my fingers trembling as I traced Camille's secret pattern on her iPad. The scent of damp wood mingled with dust. Still, the room's silence was deafening. The flickering glow of red tape and the faint ticking of the grandfather clock were my only witnesses. Heart-pounding, I hesitated. Was I risking everything? More than a stolen passcode, I was trespassing into the buried family truths, whispers of secrets kept locked away all these years. And in that moment, I felt the weight of it, truths ready to explode if I dared to uncover them. The estate's forbidden files, hidden behind encryption, held promises and threats. Files that could topple the carefully built illusion of our family's legacy. Camille's password pattern, an artist's flourish, revealed her confidence, her coercion. I knew the risks, but what choice did I have? The storm outside was nothing compared to the chaos brewing within these walls. My hand hovered over the files. If I found what I suspected, everything would change. Nothing would be the same. That's when I saw the encrypted PDFs marked private. Deep inside, 2 files stared back at me. Probate Draft Alt and Trust Allocation. Edited just days before Grandpa William's death. Someone had been rewriting history. I hesitated, then clicked open the PDFs. Metadata told the story. Everything was manipulated, doctored. Who had access? Who had the motive? And then I found the voicemail from Robert Sinclair, a crack in the family's armor. His voice, crackling through the recorder, warned of illegal reprints, of someone pulling strings behind the scenes. His words were cut short, a warning left hanging in the dark. I copied everything onto an encrypted drive, forwarding it to Max. Now we had motive, means, and method. The storm raged outside, wild and unyielding. Inside me, a storm was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came next because in this family, truth isn't just a story, it's a weapon. The silence in that room was oppressive, like the walls themselves were listening. I'd come too far to turn back now. Camille's fingerprints were everywhere, carefully hidden, yet impossible to fully erase. I ran my fingers over her device, the screen flickering with encrypted files, knowing any moment I could trigger something dangerous. The rest of her data had been wiped recently, leaving only breadcrumbs, small, suspicious scraps. My burner buzzed. I glanced at it. Max's name again. But what really caught my eye was a name buried deep in the metadata, Linda Fletcher. I didn't recognize it, but Tyrann's trusted her once. Now she was off the grid, no digital trail since March. If Camille or Tierney had anything to hide, Fletcher might be the key, someone who could connect the dots or bury the truth forever. The storm outside roared anew, rattling the windows as thunder echoed the chaos inside me. I lock the iPad, wipe my traces, and softly slide the chair back. The mission isn't finished. I whisper a vow to myself. I need to find her. I need to find the ghost. And for the first time in days, that flicker of purpose ignited inside me, something I'd almost forgotten. I wasn't just the forgotten daughter now. I was back in the game. The case was mine. It took 2 hours, a cold, abandoned coffee, and a trail of old tax forms. Linda Fletcher's address was tucked behind unremarkable houses, a tiny bungalow hemmed in by peeling paint and a cracked stone walkway. According to church records, she volunteered twice a week, doing tax prep for retirees. But that woman who answered the door? She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in years. "Linda Fletcher?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She hesitated. "I don't do walk-ins. Whatever you need, call the church." I cut her off gently. "I'm not here about taxes. It's something else." And as shadows lengthened outside, so too did the weight of what I was about to uncover. Secrets buried deep. Truths some people would kill to keep hidden. The storm's fury inside felt only like a preview. The real storm, the one that could change everything, was still waiting to reveal itself. What does she know, and how much longer can I keep digging before everything falls apart? The scent of old books and polished wood cloaked me as I stepped into the study, a vault of memories I'd long avoided. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the faint crackle of a fire. I could almost hear my father's stern voice echoing, reminding me of what this family legacy meant, something precious, yet painfully strained. Shadows flickered across the walls, each flicker a reminder of the warmth that once filled this space, now just ghostly echoes. I closed my eyes, feeling the cool leather of the armchair beneath me, a throne of unspoken expectations. That tidal wave hit me again, a rush of loss, of longing, of secrets buried deep. The past isn't dead, it's just waiting, and every whisper of it urges me forward. In a world obsessed with wealth and power, who really controls the story? I felt it then, the quiet burden of knowing. A family torn apart, a legacy slipping through my fingers. When I look at Camille, confident, cunning, always ahead, I wonder, what's really at stake? How much of our past are we willing to risk revealing? The truth is, no legacy is ever simple. It's layered, tangled in betrayals, silent anger, unspoken promises. And sometimes the past refuses to stay buried. It pushes back with storm and shadow. I've come too far to turn away now, because behind the polished veneer lies the real story, raw, unfiltered, and it's waiting for me to uncover it. Rain tapped against the window like a slow drum, muddying the night with whispers of secrets. Ethan Harris sat stiffly, eyes fixed on Margaret Carter's calculated smile across the room. Her confidence was a razor, sharp and dangerous. He'd thought he knew her, that they all did. But tonight, the veneer cracked. As the storm outside intensified, a flicker of movement caught Ethan's eye. A shadow, a shimmer, hovered just outside the glass. His heart quickened. Then he saw it. A faint glint beneath Camille's jewelry. A hidden camera, concealed like a secret finally exposed. Her perfect composure shattered, revealing the serpent beneath the silk. The weight of deception lifted, just for a moment, revealing the truth pounding beneath. Everything had been a lie. Trust, fragile as glass, splintered as the camera rotated silently, capturing this moment of revelation. Power was a game, and tonight it tipped. Ethan's resolve sharpened. This wasn't just about inheritance, it was about who truly controls the legacy. And when the storm broke apart the lies, The battle for truth had only just begun. The scent of aged wood and leather filled the air as I stood in the dimly lit study, the weight of my father's legacy pressing down on me. I could hear the faint ticking of the grandfather clock, each tick echoing the moments lost to time. Memories flooded back, my father's stern gaze, the way he would meticulously arrange his papers, a ritual of control. I felt a pang of longing for his approval, a desire to understand the man behind the authority. The shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets of family ties and betrayals, igniting a fire within me to uncover the truth. I unlocked my phone with a fingerprint and read the message aloud. IRS has had red flags on the Whitmore Family Trust since 2021. Offshore movement, Cyprus, BIZ. Camille's name wasn't on the paper, but the shell company all traced back to her consultancy firm. Marissa looked up, a fierce glint in her eyes. "That's your fuel," she said, but then she motioned to the will. "This is your match." I walked to the window, watching the Vermont sky hang low and gray over the streets of Burlington. This wasn't a war I could fight with weapons. It required precision, timing, restraint. The exact things I'd trained for overseas were now repurposed in the domestic theater of inheritance manipulation and white-collar crime. Marissa printed the packet. 16 pages of declarations, digital audit logs, forensic affidavits. I watched her sign the cover letter with clean, practiced strokes. "You sure you're ready?" she asked. I slid a slim manila envelope across the desk. Inside were copies of the same packet, unsigned. No header, no sender. The address on the envelope was Camille's community center downtown. "I want her to see it coming," I said, "but not from which direction." We left the community center together. At the Federal Clerk's Community Center, the marble lobby echoed with bureaucratic stillness. I handed the packet to the clerk without ceremony. "Fraud petition," I said simply. He stamped the intake form. "You'll be contacted within 72 hours. May take longer depending on volume." "We'll wait," I replied. Marissa glanced at me as we stepped outside. "You know what happens next." "If this holds," she said, echoing the warning from earlier, "we're not just reopening a will, we're freezing every account they've touched." It wasn't just about the inheritance anymore. It hadn't been since the moment I found that USB in the glove box. This was about dismantling something bigger, something systemic rotting beneath polished mahogany and heirloom silver. Back at the cabin, I activated the last step. As the rain tapped against the window like a slow drum, muddying the night with whispers of secrets, I felt the storm outside intensify. The battle for truth had only just begun. The air was thick with tension as I powered up a clean burner laptop. I uploaded the anonymous packet, routing it through a triple encrypted network. The email subject line was simple: "For your review." The recipient, Camille's firm. No signature, no header, just the weight of what was coming. I was halfway through pouring myself a glass of water when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Camille. 4 words, ice cold and immediate. "What the hell did you just do?" I didn't respond. I didn't have to. She just realized the battlefield had shifted, and for once, she didn't have the map. As the rain began to patter against the window, I knew they would start erasing their footprints. But I was already 10 steps ahead. The IRS didn't knock, they called. The line crackled with a professionalism so sterile it felt almost cold. "Walsh, this is Agent S. Patel, Internal Revenue Service. We've reviewed a petition that may involve misappropriation of estate funds. We're requesting clarification on a series of offshore flows tied to the Whitmore Family Trust." I kept my voice steady. "I have documentation and metadata for every digital file, including versions deleted by the current executives." A pause. "Please upload copies to the portal provided. You'll receive a confirmation code once files are received." By the time I ended the call, Max was already on another line. His screen lit up with flowcharts and spreadsheets mapping entity movements from Vermont to Cyprus, with cross branches into a consultancy that bore Ethan Harris's signature. Cyprus Holdings is a shell, he said, but a loud one. Ethan Harris's name was redacted in the original filings, but someone forgot to scrub the PDF properties. Classic amateur hour. Why does that not surprise me? I replied, feeling a surge of determination. You were right about Camille, too, he continued. She started purging cloud backups yesterday afternoon. Local and encrypted drives wiped this morning, but you'd already mirrored the server right before the deletion timestamps hit. We've got everything. The room hung heavy with silence, every shadow deepening as the distant echo of footsteps grew louder. My gaze flicked to the door, where Margaret's sharp silhouette paused, hesitation flickering across her face. Outside, an unfamiliar voice cracked through the air, one that didn't belong to anyone expected. A chill ran down my spine. Would the truth finally surface, or would it all fall apart now? Just as tension peaked, a voice from behind the door whispered a single, chilling question. Did you really think you could keep this quiet forever? The battle for truth had only just begun. The scent of polished wood and old leather filled the air as I stood in the dimly lit study, memories flooding back. I could hear the faint echo of my father's voice, authoritative yet distant, reminding me of the weight of our family legacy. The flickering candlelight cast shadows on the walls, revealing portraits of ancestors who had fought for their place in history. A chill ran down my spine as I recalled the moment Margaret's laughter pierced the silence, a reminder of the rivalry that had always simmered beneath the surface. It was a bittersweet reminder of what was at stake. The draft emails, the offshore ledgers, even voice memos she stored for transcription. One of those files I'd already listened to. Margaret rehearsing a speech for the family board. Grandfather's decision was clear, though painful. We respect his wishes. It would have been convincing if not for the metadata date, 3 days after he died. Just before noon, a man in a tailored suit showed up at Marissa's community center with an envelope. No name, no card, just a folded piece of legal stationery with the message scrolled in neat, expensive ink. Not smart to dig into family. She called me 5 minutes later. You want me to call this in? No, not yet, I said. Let them believe it still scares me. If they thought I was bluffing, they wouldn't prepare for the real hit. We submitted a temporary injunction that afternoon. Marissa's language was surgically precise. Pending federal review, distribution of estate assets poses material risk of obstruction of justice. It was filed through expedited channels, added to the docket before Margaret's team could react. Max sent the next confirmation. The IRS had flagged 3 accounts: Margaret's consultancy, my private equity pool, and a secondary LLC registered to Douglas's name. All 3 were marked for deeper audit. They're unraveling fast, Max said. The firewalls they built? Cheap, decorative. You knock one brick, the rest collapses. Outside Margaret's law firm, I waited in my rental car with a clear view of the main entrance. The building had that modern arrogance, glass facade, brushed metal curved lobby stairs that probably cost more than my military salary. At 7:42 p.m., she emerged, tailored coat, heels that didn't make a sound on the pavement, hair twisted up with mechanical precision. But her posture was different, tightened, brittle, and she wasn't alone. A man walked beside her, early 40s, dark suit, federal issue badge half tucked beneath his coat. I didn't need to see the seal to know where he was from. Would the truth finally surface, or would it all fall apart? Now, the battle for our family's legacy had only just begun. The cold scent of rain lingered in the air as Ethan Harris stepped out of his car, eyes fixed on the looming estate. Margaret Carter had just paused at her door, her voice trailing in a tense conversation with the man beside her. A moment stretched painfully long before she turned sharply, her gaze sweeping the street as if she sensed the storm gathering. That tension, it wasn't just casual. It was the weight of the noose tightening around her reputation, her future. But what she didn't realize, what they all refused to see, was how far Ethan had already prepared. He knew that survival wasn't about improvising in chaos. No, it's about being ahead, so far ahead that by the time they start deleting files, you're already drafting your final move. When they couldn't break his files, they turned to his name. Then it hit like a headline. Ex-operative claims inheritance, alleges family fraud. At first glance, it seemed neutral, just words, but anyone paying attention could read the attack behind it. The story went live right after dawn. Margaret Carter hadn't even waited for sunrise. The timing was strategic, early enough for the story to marinate across every outlet before lunch, making enemies and allies alike question everything. The picture accompanying the article cut deep. A cropped shot of Ethan in tactical gear, crouched behind a Humvee, dirt smudged across his cheek. Eyes hard, unreadable, as if daring the world to judge him. The message was clear. Dangerous, unfit, unpredictable. They wanted him erased. Ethan scrolled silently, but Camille's quote was a knife. Evelyn has always struggled with reintegration. This situation is heartbreaking, but we must honor our grandfather's wishes. That heartbreaking tone, honey-coated poison, and Ethan Harris? He chimed in with pre-recorded smugness. PTSD warps memory. It's not her fault, but it's not a legal defense. The words felt like a slap in Ethan's mind, echoing the betrayal that sliced deeper than any headline. Silence wrapped the room as Ethan stared at the wall of his cabin, wind rustling through brittle branches, a faint hum of his encrypted laptop processing files Max had prepared overnight. Then Marissa burst in, storming with all the weight of conscience, voice sharp. "This is character assassination, Evelyn. You can't stay silent." And that's when Ethan knew. This wasn't just a legal battle. It was the war for a legacy, fought with whispers, headlines, and shadows. Only one thing mattered now. He had already scripted his next move. The question was, could he outmaneuver the storm? We need a counterstatement, something official. If we don't act, people will believe them. I looked up, waiting for the truth to land. They want noise. I'm bringing judgment. Marissa sat there, arms crossed, her expression serious. What they're doing isn't just unethical. It's dangerous. They're not just targeting a name on a will. They're turning you into a liability. Let them, I replied, my voice steady. Marissa sighed but didn't press further. She understood my silence wasn't passivity. It was the calm before the storm. I turned back to the laptop. Max had added a time-stamped folder labeled Tyranny Voicemails, encrypted for safety. One by one, I opened the audio files. George's voice, quieter than I remembered, filled the room. His tone was cautious, weary. "Camille, this isn't what we discussed. You said minor edits. This isn't minor." Another clip played. "I know what I'm risking, but if this gets out, I'm done. You said we'd keep it between us." The last file had no timestamp. It was hidden deep in a deleted partition Max had recovered from a legacy backup server. George's voice was different, frantic, almost whispered as if he recorded it on instinct. "If anything happens to me, tell Linda the reel is in drawer C." The air felt heavier after the file ended. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, letting the silence stretch like a fuse. They could spin their narrative. They could plaster my face across every cable segment, twist my military record into a liability, paint me as fragile. But I didn't need sympathy. I needed facts. And Robert Sinclair, even from the grave, had just handed me the key to the vault. The courtroom was packed, but the one person I needed to speak never showed up. The polished oak bench gleamed under the harsh lights, the state of Vermont's seal etched behind the judge's seat, a permanent truth none of us could reach. Rows of spectators filled the gallery: family, former colleagues of my grandfather, and vultures disguised as legal observers. I recognized a few from Camille's firm. They didn't bother hiding their smirks. The tension in the room was palpable. I could almost taste the betrayal in the air, thick and suffocating. Each second felt like an eternity. What would it take to expose the truth? What would it take to reclaim my legacy? The stakes were higher than ever, and I was ready to fight. Sunlight filters through the tall windows, casting dappled shadows on the old family estate. The scent of magnolia blossoms drifts in, mingling with the fresh-cut grass. It's an oasis of memories, yet beneath the calm, something's wrong. I remember sitting out here as a boy, under the shade of ancient oaks, clutching a family heirloom. I felt the smooth wood in my hands, familiar, solid, like the legacy I was supposed to protect. That warmth, that quiet resolve, now feels like a distant echo. Today, I'm facing a battle not just over estate papers, but over bloodlines, betrayal, and what it really means to carry a family's name. The air's heavy, loaded with unspoken truths. Is this what family really looks like? Power, secrecy, chaos hidden behind perfect facades? Or can I find the strength to hold on to what matters, even if it means facing everything I've never wanted to admit? The truth waits, silent, just beyond the edge of these sunlit shadows, and I can't turn away anymore. I was 12 again, standing on the porch of our lake house, drenched in rain. I clutched my little brother's broken fishing rod, a painful reminder of his tantrum. When he cried and pointed at me, no one questioned him. No one except Grandpa. He'd wipe the mud from my scraped elbow and say, "You're the only one who knows the truth." Those words echoed in my mind, especially now. In the courtroom, I sat beside Marissa and whispered, "He was right about all of them." She didn't need to respond. We returned to the cabin in silence. I didn't take off my coat or turn on the lights. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the worn envelope beside Grandpa's old photo, waiting. Then came the knock, soft, almost ghostly. No footsteps on the gravel, just a gentle tap and an envelope sliding under the door. I picked it up. The handwriting was shaky but familiar. "Evelyn, they found me. I'm scared, but I'll do it, I promise. L." For a moment I held the paper, its edges trembling in my hand. Linda was still out there, and now she wasn't running. When you freeze an account, you freeze a life. I didn't relish it, but I didn't stop it either. It all began with a forwarded string of numbers. Max sent them at dawn. Routing digits, digital fingerprints from Cypress Holdings that matched internal records of the family trust. No subject line, just the numbers and a single word. Ready? I opened a secure channel and dropped the file into a private DOJ inbox. I'd spoken to the contact there once before, back in Zagreb, while vetting asset pipelines linked to a defense contractor. I knew her voice, but not her name. That's how these things worked. 10 minutes later, she called. "Are you certain?" As certain as I was when I signed an NDA at age 23 and never broke it once. A pause hung in the air. Under Section 721C, this information permits a temporary estate and trust freeze pending federal investigation. The stakes were higher than ever. I was ready to fight for my family's legacy, to uncover the truth buried beneath layers of betrayal and deceit. Would I find the strength to reclaim what was rightfully mine, or would the shadows of my past consume me? The truth waited, silent, just beyond the edge of the chaos. And I couldn't turn away anymore. The storm outside was just a whisper compared to the chaos inside. Ethan Harris, the quiet air, sitting in the dim glow of the old study, felt the weight of family secrets pressing down. The scent of aged wood and leather mingled with the rain's faint smell, filling the air with memories. Some dear, others bitter. His fingers brushed against a worn photo album, yellowed pages trembling like the options before him. His father's voice echoed in his mind. Remember who you are. But now, that voice felt distant, faint as the wind rustling leaves outside. Ethan stared at the photo of a younger version of himself, hope flickering, knowing this moment could change everything, or destroy what little he had left. By noon, the calm cracked, the bank's servers silent and unresponsive. Margaret Carter's name flashed on his screen, a sharp reminder of her relentless pursuit. Her cunning smile, confidence laced with ruthlessness, had always been a threat. Ethan's phone buzzed. Max's warning about Ethan Harris's card declined at the steakhouse. Did he order wine? Ethan's mind drifted. How easily trust dissolved into betrayal. Across town, Marissa's voice brought grim news. DOJ was on the move, the family's secrets spilling out. The cold truth settled. This wasn't just a dispute anymore. It was a war. Then the email from Linda arrived. Her face, her voice a full video of calm truth. Her words sliced through the silence. I kept the real version, in case someone might need it someday. Proof of manipulated drafts and pressure from Camille, from Robert Sinclair, shattering illusions built over years. The photographs, PDFs, metadata, they weren't just papers, they were the foundation of a legacy about to crumble. Seconds later, a formal freeze from the DOJ confirmed it. No estate dispersals. A quiet standstill, yet inside Ethan, a storm roared. Justice wasn't just about law, it was about rebalancing a skewed world, claiming what was truly his. As the sun dipped behind storm clouds, the phone rang. Camille. Her voice was different, less icy, trembling like a taut wire. You think this is over? She spat, her voice trembling with rage and fear. Ethan hesitated, silent. You have no idea what you've unleashed, she whispered, the threat hanging heavy. Without a word, he disconnected. The game had changed. The war was just beginning. Some battles are won in silence. Others, they start there, like cracks in the foundation everyone misses until it's too late. The Vermont County Courthouse was packed. Lines curled around the steps. Rumors swirled like falling leaves. Inside, the air was thick, static, tight, whispering secrets no one dared to voice aloud. Everyone wanted answers. Who really owns the family legacy? Who's manipulating the truth? I sat near Marissa, papers stacked neatly, her laptop glowing with case files time-stamped down to every edit. Opposite her, Camille sat in navy, no black, sends a message. Calculated, confident, Ethan Harris's brows knit tight. He's just learned inheritance law is a battlefield. Judge Whitaker entered, calm, firm, overseeing the storm. His gaze slid over the room, settling. The docket name was heavy. Rhodes versus Rodas, estate fraud, broken wills, secrets weaponized. Marissa spoke first, voice razor-sharp. Your Honor, we present digital and sworn evidence, suggesting the will we thought was final? Not the real deal. She laid out the timeline, Linda's deposition, the voicemails, metadata trails, all time-stamped, precise. Perfect. Then the real shock. Linda's face filled the courtroom screen, tired but unwavering. I worked with Robert Sinclair. 9 years, she said. He knew Camille rewrote things. He told me to keep a backup. The original will? That's what Fred wanted. Equal shares. That's the truth. A ripple moved through the crowd. Murmurs, shifting in seats. Camille's jaw clenched, tight enough to crack. Her lawyer scrambled, trying to silence the evidence. But the truth, it was already out there, clear as day. And as the courtroom held its breath, the question lingered. What dark secrets are about to surface? Who's about to fall? Because sometimes revealing the truth isn't just about winning, it's about surviving. The scent of aged leather and cold brass rises from the dimly lit library, shadows flickering across shelves filled with dust-laden books. The fire's glow dances softly, casting everything in a warm but ominous light. I remember sitting in that antique chair as a kid, clutching a faded photo of my great-uncle, feeling the weight of generations pressing down, the whisper of wind outside, the faint crackle of vinyl, the scent of burnt cedar. They all blend into a fragile sense of belonging. It felt so distant, yet somehow so real. Back then, I didn't understand what these family secrets really meant, only that they haunted every step I took, that quiet resolve to uncover the truth, to understand who we truly are. It's what's driven me all these years. Now, I'm standing in the middle of a storm, the kind that tears families apart when money and legacy collide. Camille's smile, sharp and confident, feels like a blade. She's chasing control, relentless. The lawyer, Robert Sinclair, nervously pushes through thick legal fog trying to hold the pieces together. Behind her, shadows of betrayal flicker. Who can you trust when everyone's playing their game? The courtroom is packed, tension slicing through the air like lightning. The judge's gavel falls. Decisive. The verdict? Sufficient cause to believe the will was forged. The original? Suspended. The estate's final nuts and bolts unraveling before my eyes. Camille's jaw tightens. She knows her bluff's up. Ethan Harris's face? Pale, like the ground's shifting beneath him, and just outside those courthouse walls, Camille intercepts me, her heels clicking like a countdown. "You think this is over?" she whispers, eyes shining with danger. I hold her gaze, knowing full well, this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Because hidden in the shadows, there's always one more move, something she's kept tucked away, a backup plan with my name on it. The ivory envelope, sealed with haunting red ribbon, feels heavy in my hand, like a warning. Camille's smirk says it all. She thrived on chaos, on secrets. And now, she's walking away, leaving the war on pause, for now. But I can feel it, the storm rising again. What's inside that sealed paper, and how do I face a fight where the rules keep changing? That's the real story right there. Truth, deception, and the relentless pursuit of who we really are beneath it all. The cold winter wind bites as I stand outside the hospital, my breath fogging in the gray air. The muffled footsteps behind me, distant, muffled voices, fade into the background. Memories surge like a flood. My father's eyes, steady yet distant, clutching that pen as the sterile scent of antiseptic fills my nose. I can still feel the weight of those legal papers trembling in my hand, the sharp edges of that cursed cautionary note like a blade pressed to my chest. Camille's sneer, her confidence like a dagger, reminds me how fragile truth can be when greed and betrayal hide behind polished smiles. That moment, that icy dusk, I realized everything I believed was slipping away. Lies swirling, hope crumbling. What's real anymore? It's a battle for control, for legacy. And I wonder how much of my father's final act was truly his, or just another layer of deception waiting to be uncovered. As the scent of aged paper and wood lingered in the dusty library, where sunlight threw fractured patterns across the shelves. I stood there, palms resting on the leather spines of my grandfather's books, his secrets whispering in quiet crackles. I remembered William Harris's steady hand guiding me through this maze of legacy, his voice a calm anchor against the chaos of inheritance battles. Back then, those moments felt simple, yet they carved something deep in me, a quiet resolve to protect what mattered beneath all the greed and betrayal's noise. Outside, the rain's scent mingled with leaf rustle, and I wondered how much of this story was truth, and how much was a mirror for the darkness we hide. When life's foundations tremble, what's left standing? Is it legacy, real, or just illusion shaped by those who seek to control it? As the shadows lengthen, I hold on to that memory, distant yet fiercely mine, knowing the fight for what's right is never truly over, Sometimes the most profound truths hide beneath silence, waiting for just the right moment to emerge. Two rocking chairs sat side by side, a picture of untouched lemonade between them. Beads of condensation trailed down the glass like sweat from a face too afraid to speak. I settled into the chair on the left, the same one Grandpa used to occupy after a long day of fixing the dock or chopping wood. We sat in silence at first. She looked smaller than I remembered, frailer. Her gray hair was neatly tied back, but her hands trembled as she reached for the glass, only to pull back without taking a sip. "I saw the hearings, on TV," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. So did most of the county, apparently. A smile tugged at her lips but never quite landed. She sighed, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. I should have come forward. I remained silent, letting her words settle. She gazed out toward the water, lost in thought. I knew about the original will. Robert told me. He said, "Fred, your grandfather wanted it equal. He said he filed it." But Margaret convinced him to print another version. She said it would keep the peace, that you wouldn't want the estate anyway, that you had your life elsewhere. "Did I?" I asked, turning slightly toward her. She flinched, just a little. I thought keeping peace was worth more than justice. The sentence hung between us, heavy and unresolved. I could tell she had rehearsed it, but it didn't make it cleaner or easier. "Was I ever yours?" I asked quietly. "Or just his mistake?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Just silence again. But this time, it didn't feel like retreat. She reached out slowly, uncertain, and placed her hand on my shoulder. No squeeze, no tears, just a lingering touch. It didn't fix anything, but it didn't need to. The breeze shifted, carrying the scent of pine and wet earth, mingling with the faint metallic memory of blood and ash from a different life. The one I'd lived overseas, the one I didn't bring home. She said that you were stronger than all of us. That you didn't need this family, she murmured. "I didn't," I replied, "but that doesn't mean I deserved what you let happen." She nodded, accepting the truth without defense, without excuses. A long silence stretched between us. Not cold, just quiet. In that moment, the weight of our shared history hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting us through the chaos of legacy and betrayal. The smell of cedar and aged leather hit me as I cracked open the dusty glove box. Outside, leaves rustled softly, hiding the faint click of the latch, almost deliberate, like someone's watching. Memories flickered. Him, inspecting that box with careful fingers, voice steady but sharp. I could almost hear it. "It's all in here, kid. The truth's in what you don't see." A cold breeze brushed my face, mixing rain scent with earth, whispering secrets buried deep. Behind that rusted truck, I sensed there was more. Secrets that had waited, years, patient and silent. My fists clenched. The weight of unspoken truths pressed on me, heavy and unrelenting. What was really buried in that glove compartment? Could I trust what I'd been told? Would the past ever let me go? As the quiet chaos roared inside, I felt that thrill, standing on the edge of revelation, unsure if I'd find clarity or just another lie. And yet, here I was, staring into the shadows of family, legacy, betrayal. Dreams that crumbled beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. I sat on the tailgate, the final envelope resting in my lap. My share of the estate. I signed it over to a veteran scholarship fund, to a shelter for at-risk youth, something better than revenge. As I climbed back into the chauffeur's seat, my phone rang. "Marissa, you sure?" she asked. "It's a sizable amount." "I'm not doing this for a payout," I replied. Justice wasn't about the money. It was about revealing who they really were. She paused, then exhaled. "You're the only person I've seen walk away from this kind of fight with their soul intact." I didn't need to answer. The truck's engine coughed, then roared to life. The dashboard lights flickered weakly, waking from a long sleep. I reached into the glove box and found the photo again, the one of Grandpa and me on the dock, holding up a fish, grins too big for our faces. I slid it back beneath the lining. The glove box light blinked, then stayed on. I shifted into gear. The trail by the lake was narrow, lined with golden leaves and fading sunlight. As I rolled forward, the breeze caught the edge of the old military duffel in the back seat, lifting it slightly before settling it again. The wind had changed. I didn't look back. I didn't inherit wealth. I inherited the truth. And that's worth every mile ahead. After everything they took from her, home, family, dignity, she didn't just get justice. She became it. Margaret and her allies, once untouchable behind polished law offices and forged documents, watched their empire unravel in a courtroom that finally listened. Justice doesn't come gift-wrapped. It's fought for, piece by painful piece. Like the final chord of a long-forgotten melody, it may arrive late, but it resonates powerfully once it's heard. Because sometimes the real inheritance isn't land or gold, but the courage to say enough. What if the real betrayal lay not in the inheritance, but in the secrets he took to his grave? The world outside blurred as I drove away, the road ahead uncertain, yet filled with the promise of revelation. Under the dim glow of the grand chandelier, Ethan Harris stands resolute, his face a canvas of betrayal and hope. The air is thick with tension, the scent of rain lingering as memories clash with the present. Margaret Carter's confident smirk falters as the truth unfolds, a revelation that shatters years of deception. Can you feel the weight of the moment? The room holds its breath, and finally, a quiet exhale signifies acceptance. The family's fractured history begins to mend, not through victory, but through wounded understanding. It's an emotional release that whispers of reconciliation amid chaos. What if the real betrayal lay not in the inheritance, but in the secrets buried deep? As Ethan drives away, the world outside blurs, the road ahead uncertain yet filled with the promise of revelation. He didn't inherit wealth, he inherited the truth, and that's worth every mile ahead.